Guys, welcome back. So they've done it. They've approved the borrowing law, third final reading. It's all done. Thank you to everyone who's been sending me information. As always, appreciate you guys. Let's look at the article, and then I'll have some thoughts and comments for you. Parliament passes the borrowing bill and gives green light to pay salaries. The Iraqi parliament voted on Thursday on the borrowing law that the government has been waiting for to secure delayed salaries for employees for several weeks as the country is going through one of the most difficult financial crises due to declining oil prices. The session was hindered after the Kurdish blocs boycotted the voting session after a disagreement over a proposal submitted by Shiite parliamentary blocs that included determining the Kurdistan's share of the budget, current expenditures and investment project expenditures after excluding the sovereign expenditures specified by the federal budget law on the condition that Kurdistan region should pay the establishment of oil exported from the region and in quantities exclusively determined by the SOMO and federal non-oil revenues. In the event of non-commitment of the region, its expenses may not be paid, and the violator of this provision bears the legal violation. The session was held with the participation of most of the deputies, including the Kurds, after agreeing to postpone the vote on the controversial point, but Parliament proceeded to vote on the article, which caused a verbal altercation between Kurdish representatives and Shiite blocs that caused their withdrawal from the session. The vote was also made to allocate an amount of 400 billion dinar for the Port of Al-Fah to adopt fingerprints and salaries in order to ensure that there are no aliens, ghost employees. That means duplicate pay scales or duplicate paychecks, okay? This amount will cover the government's fiscal deficit for the months of October, November, December. This is the second time the government asked Parliament to grant it the authorization to borrow in order to secure operating expenses, on top of which are the salaries of the employees. On June 24th, Parliament approved a bill that would allow the government to borrow 15 trillion dinar internally and 5 billion abroad to cover the fiscal deficit. According to the official authorities, these funds have run out during the past months. Employees are still awaiting payment of their salaries last October, the second delay of its kind for the second month in a row. The legislation of the fiscal deficit law comes to secure legitimate cover government to given that Iraq has not approved the fiscal budget for 2020 due to the crisis of protests has toppled the previous government and was followed by the corona pandemic crisis, which reduced the state's revenues by nearly half. And Iraq is one of the countries with rentier economy, as it relies on revenues from selling oil to finance up to 95% of state expenditures. The country is experiencing a suffocating financial crisis due to the decline in oil prices due to the corona pandemic, which has paralyzed large sectors of the world's economies. And before the corona pandemic crisis, revenues from selling crude amounted to about $6 billion per month, but they have almost halved this year. So there you guys go. They've completed the third and final reading. The borrowing law is completely approved. Well, it's approved. It's not a legal binding law yet, though. The next step they're going to do is they're going to pass it off to the president for signature, guys, but that will not happen until next week. So anyone who's now thinking the rate's going to change this weekend because the law just got the third and final reading, not happening, guys. There will be no rate change this coming weekend, guys. The president has to sign off on it, okay, so it can be a legal binding law and be published in the Gazette, okay? That will not happen until next week. That's why I've been telling you guys this will not become a law until pretty much the week of the 21st. That's why I kept giving you guys the 21st as a back wall. I was trying to tell you it's not going to be a legal binding law until pretty much the 21st, okay? So there you go. Again, it's, as you see, the president will not, it usually takes the president approximately, per the Constitution, he has approximately 15 days to sign it, but usually they average 7 to 10 days to sign, okay? So again, he'll probably sign it most likely sometime next week by the 21st, and there you go, okay? That's why I was trying to pretty much tell you the 21st is pretty much a back wall in this, okay? So everything's right on track, moving in the right direction. As you guys know, there's nothing else remaining. This is the last and final step required for the rate change. Okay, and again, the last step to this is simply the president signing it, which will not happen until next week. That pretty much tells you it'll all be 100% done by November 21st. And then after that, guys, they can change the rate at any time after that, okay? So there you guys go. Now, a lot of other good news has come out today. There was an article that came out today talking about the how Kurdistan is going to start, basically is going to start sending money, oil and gas revenue over to Baghdad in return for salary money for Baghdad, okay? Guys, that's a reform requirement, which means it's pretty much a post-rate change step, okay? And the other one was they came out saying that there's an agreement between Saudi Arabia and Iraq, and that this big financial agreement between basically Saudi lent or loaned Iraq quite a bit of money. That money's to be used for reforms, but the way that the article was titled is that this money will be utilized to implement very large projects. Again, guys, that's nothing more than reconstruction and reforms. Okay, all of this is just post-rate change stuff. Here's the reality in this. Iraq had to achieve stability first. That's what Kademi did when he got in. He achieved stability. Once stability was achieved, he kind of toured around both the U.S. and Europe. Once Iraq got off of everybody's naughty list, like OFAC in the U.S., okay, once they got off the naughty list, that allowed Iraq to tour and come to the U.S. and go to Europe, put together these reform MOU agreements, okay? And then the last step, guys, is positioning the money. That's what they're doing right now before you. That's why, like I just told you, this money being lent or borrowed from Saudi Arabia will be utilized for these large projects. One of the major steps or most important steps of positioning the money is changing the rate and making Iraq's currency to become internationally recognized. Okay, that's one of the most important steps of the reforms. Okay, so guys, everything's right on track. It's looking really good. We're moving in the right direction. Okay, and Iraq should most likely have the last and final step and everything done and ready to go by the 21st. Okay, by November of 21st, next week. Okay, that's when they should have everything done and ready. Okay, I'm not giving you that as an RV date. I'm trying to tell you that's when they'll have everything done and ready to go, and that's what I've been trying to share with you regarding this, okay? They can change the rate anytime after that once the president signs it, okay? So we're looking very good, guys. Hey, you guys are the best. God bless you guys, and have a great evening.